I think it looks picture perfect. And I think the setup is great.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's going to work out, but you play the odds. And this is like, Justin mentioned yesterday on the swing trader video, like playing poker and you get two aces. You go heavy. Doesn't mean, anyone who's played poker has lost with aces,
Right.
but this is a great setup. Now, tactically, how do you deal with a big gap up? That's the tricky part. So
Hmm.
first you want to know, where is your goal? And we can talk about later about how great this setup is and everything, with the
Yeah.
exception of the gap. But
Right.
that you can't get everything you want. So let's just stipulate that it looks very positive. Now, some people might be negative. Hey, that's what makes a market. I'm extremely bullish. I was very bullish after, we had the other major risk event, which was Powell, and he switched during at the last meeting, and now that is off the table. Even though we have that tomorrow, I'm not concerned with it even, much at all. But with this market now, we've got this perfect setup. How do you get in? You have to know your end point, meaning how deep in the market you want to be by the end of the day. And so, what is your speed limit? That will dictate everything that you've got going on. Let's say you want your speed, you're 10% in the market and you want your speed limit, you think your speed limit is 90. Well, that's a lot of buying. And what could happen is, if you do all of that today, and then we fill some of this gap over the next couple of days, that's going to be very painful, right? So you have to kind of, but if we do one of these gaps and runs, the kids these
Hmm.
days like to call them like a lockout rally or something. If we get one of those, then if you're waiting for that pullback, you've got issues. So, and then you might be, just wait until the tippy top and then finally capitulate, buy a whole bunch, and then it comes in. So the better approach, I think, is to do it gradual, but with your end goal in mind, saying, if you were 10% in the market coming into today, maybe, and your end goal is 80%, maybe more realistically, it's you want to get to 40 or 50 in one
Hmm.
day, and then do some more, tomorrow and so on. So I would split up your orders, have your best stocks or ETFs that you want to go with.
Right. So that's
And
what we'll focus on today.
yeah.
Mhm.
And what I like to do is, with turns like this, go heavy with ETFs, use them
Yep.
as a source of funds.
Okay.
So
So what ETFs are you buying then, Mike, here right out of the gate?
I've got coming into today, I've had Q's, IWM, some ARC, believe it or not, and SPY. Those are the ETFs I'm playing personally. With we didn't do ARC or IWM on Swing Trader just because they were a bit riskier. We went with the doubles of the Qs and SPY. And that's what I would start with. I think with SPY and the Qs, more broad based. The IWM has been very tricky over the last 3, 4 years. So I would just say, okay, I want to increase my exposure there, unless you have individual stocks that are at precise buy points, which you
Hmm.
probably don't have many. And I would gradually be buying throughout the day. If your broker offers a TWAP, I would just put it in that way. If we fade midday, you will get some
Right.
shares at a better price. But if we keep ripping all day, you still have that order um,
Hmm.
in place. But this is tricky because with it up so hard far,
Hmm.
everyone's expecting that pullback in. I'm not sure how that we actually get that today. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I'm up to my eyeballs right now, but I'm looking to see if there's anything I can move around to get some more
Right.
um, position. So,
Hmm. Yeah. I would say I was about 75% invested heading into today. I did do some trimming last Thursday, but I'm adding stuff back. And I am being a little bit more aggressive. So, we all say take it with a grain of salt, right? We're just sharing what we are doing. You have to do what works best for you, how you've been performing this year, risk tolerance, and all that good stuff. But I did add some TQQQ and some U Pro. IBIT, I know crypto definitely
Oh yeah, I'm doing
a
IBD
topic of
as well.
discussion here
Yeah.
too. So I am bullish here and taking an aggressive stance to get a little bit more fully exposed here, but also leaving some cash at the ready to add. Maybe there are some individual stocks, but going the leveraged ETF route here for the most part in the early going. But we'll see how it goes. I think that yeah, the risk is higher here, of course, but I think that reward potential is worth taking the risk, and of course using all of the risk management tools that we like to use, stops that we like to use. So Webby, since you are in IBIT, what do you think? This is another thing. I'll bring in Jim Ropel again. He told me something to the effect of Monday, if we get a breakout of this base, nothing, wild horses couldn't stop him. So he was
Oh, I always
salivating.
love, when Roll throws
He's
in a Rolling Stones quote. So
There you go.
I dig that. I was adding to it, this morning. We have it on Swing Trader. We'll probably be adding to it as well there. It's always tricky when something's up 7%, and if you're doing it from a swing trading standpoint where your stops are tight, you have to go into those trades with the assumption that there's a high probability of getting shaken out of a position in a normal reaction. So on a day like today, you just that comes with the territory that nothing is easy. But again, that's why I think people, you shouldn't go from 0 to 100 very often, and so you want to do it gradual with whatever you're doing, and just realize, midday we get some weird, noise type of news where things have a sharp intraday break. Even if they recover from there, you just don't want to get to a point where you're going to be forced to do too much selling. But you also don't want to get into a mental position where you're going to just buy no matter what. And then something comes, everything looks beautiful now, but danger is always at the door. When everything looks perfect, you always want to know what your exit is. But there's a time to be aggressive and a time not to be. And I think this is the time to be aggressive. But whatever that means for you. Some people, if
Right.
you're positioned properly, you might just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to let this first couple hours just doodle around, see what it's going to do, and place their trades near the end of the day. If that's your style, stick with your style. Don't change, just because, maybe Scott's bearish, and there's that take. There's always a take on each side, and then or you're bearish, and then don't fight it and buy, go against the grain. So anyways, just be careful out there. But I mean, this is time to put your big foot on the gas as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.